Hello, it's your friendly neighbourhood Azim here. I just wanted to take some time quickly to wish you a massive happy birthday. Really hope there are many, many more to come, and I hope I can see you all soon and drink some of that awesome beer in person because, wow, that went far too quick. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Have a great time.
Sheffield DM, 25. Woo! Get on the Prosecco. Happy birthday, hon. Woo!
Oh, hello, James here. Just wanted to say, happy birthday! Woo! Woo, 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 woo!
My God, 3 years old. I can't believe Sheffield DM is that old. I remember when you were a twinkle in Giorgio's eye. Anyway, happy birthday. I hope everyone enjoys themselves.
Happy birthday, Sheffield DM. Sending you love all the way from Munich. I really hope to see all of you in person very soon.
Happy birthday, Sheffield DM. Thank you for having me as one of your speakers. Enjoy the celebrations.
Happy birthday, Sheffield DM. Here's to many more successful years and many more happy birthdays.
Happy third birthday, Sheffield DM. I've actually been lucky to be on both sides. I was a speaker a couple of years back. Now I'm helping organise things, and there's so many more great events lined up, so please come along.
Happy third birthday, Sheffield DM. It's always been a pleasure working with you, and here's to many more events to come.
There we go. What a wild ride it's been indeed. Are we live? Am I on? I can't see myself on the camera. That's very awkward, isn't it? I'm going to be a disembodied voice for the live stream. It's crashed. There we go. Lovely. All that hard work. Sorry, everybody watching online. You're going to have to just look at what a wild ride it's been here. It's been absolutely mental trying to prepare for today, and normally I say normally, I've done this once and I cocked that up. Now I cocked it up a second time. I would have prepared some fabulous notes, some excellent puns. I thought of some absolutely brilliant things to open this with before I came here. They've all been forgotten on the way in and during the stress of getting things set up, but I'll just start by talking through and saying, yeah, it's been absolutely fabulous. Sheffield DM, 3 years, that's fucking incredible. It's been a crazy 2 years that we've been trying to do it online and now back in person with a little bit of online, but not really. Sorry, everybody watching. We've had a bunch of absolutely brilliant speakers who have been with us over the past 3 years at our first home in the Sheffield Tap. Don't know if anybody in here joined us back there when we were shoved into a pokey little room, trains coming past, very angry bar patrons that we were taking up this whole back room and they couldn't come and sit in there and drink their pint after a hard day at work. We then went online, did the lunch and learn sessions, had plenty more speakers coming through. We did our first full day conference August 2020. I'm forgetting what month we're in. Where we had a whole day, 4 different tracks. We had something like 16 speakers on through that day. Deck's nodding, that means I've got it right. That was a fabulous day, absolutely incredible experience for all of us involved, and we reached about 500-600 people online that day as well, which is small fry compared to some places, but for us, very proud. And then, here we are, back in person. We've got 3 absolutely brilliant speakers on tonight. We're going to be starting up with Jen Penaluna, who is one of my colleagues at Evoluted. She did the Q&A panel for us last time. She's now back and doing a full talk herself tonight. Jen's going to be followed up by Rosa Mitchell, joining us from Connective 3. Very excited for Rosa to come up on stage as well. She's travelled a very long way to be here with us today. We're going to have a quick break after that before we get the headline act. Mr. Kenwright coming to us from Rise at 7. Going to be telling us everything about digital PR, and I hear he's got a sneaky little plan for the end of his presentation as well, so keep your seats, keep watching, and you never know what might happen. I would ask, this is the important bit, anybody who's looked in their goodie bags will see that there is a party popper in there. Haven't told the staff here about that tonight, so going to get bollocked for the clean-up afterwards. But please save them to the end. We're going to do something nice. We're going to get everybody doing it at once. Don't want any talks being interrupted by pops, screams, pulling it all off your hair. Please don't aim them at me. I know I'm not very good at this, but bear with me. Yeah. If there's a fire, there shouldn't be. Go outside. If you need the bathroom during the talks, please quietly exit out the back door. The bathrooms are behind the front desk. You can go through the little side door to get in there. That's gone off. It's my MacBook. And yeah, if you do want to pop up and get a drink, again, nice and quiet, pop outside. The bar's going to be open all night. In your bags, you do have free drinks tokens. If you've not discovered that, fall on you. And yeah, it's going to be a good one. Stick around at the end. There's going to be some cake at the back. Everybody loves cake. There are vegan and gluten-free options as well because we are inclusive. Love to cater to everybody, and the vegan ones are pretty damn nice, actually. They put more sugar in them and quite a bit of oil to make it nice and moist, apparently. But, yeah. And yeah, then at the end, we've got some party games planned as well because third birthday wouldn't be a birthday without party games. So Declan's going to be running some marketing cliche Jenga. Who doesn't love giant Jenga? We're going to be getting that going. And for the gamers amongst you, or those who think you are the next Lewis Hamilton, we are going to be doing some Mario Kart fastest lap. And this one is a competition. There is going to be a prize. So get out there, get your fastest lap in, and best of luck. But Jen, you're looking nervous, but now's your time to shine. Welcome to the stage. I'm going to get you the clicker. No? You're going to have to shout. Shout. There's your clicker. I'm going to do a bit of banter with you first. It would be boring not to. Oh my God, I've just built you up and now there we go. Anyway, how long have you worked with us, Jen?
6 months, I think.
6 months. Jen's been an absolute star since she joined Evoluted. She joined in her first week like an absolute knob. I asked her to plan an away day for the entire marketing team. She smashed it with flying colours. She then came and hosted a Q&A panel at the last Sheffield DM. Very nervous there, but absolutely killed it. Everybody loved it. Probably the best bit of the night. Oh, got to get the timer going. Chris. We've got the camera. Chris will come and fix it. And then she's coming and doing this talk tonight, so I'm going to shut up. I'm just buying time for Chris to get up here and start this for you before we start your talk. But, yeah. Good luck, Jen. I promise I'll do a proper chat with you at the end.
Thank you. Okay, so first off, thank you for having me. Jen, work for Evoluted, as Giorgio has just said. So we're going to play Red Light, Green Light, which is a Squid Games reference. So can I just get a quick show of hands for who's actually watched it? Okay, most of you, so that's alright. So for those of you that haven't watched it, if you played something like What's the Time, Mr. Wolf at school, it's kind of like that. So let's go through it. But before, I just want to show you pictures of my dogs, really. So there's more pictures of my dogs than me, which if you follow me on Twitter, or will do after this, hopefully, you'll see more pictures of dogs. So I've got quite a short career, to be honest, in SEO. So I've been doing SEO for about 4.5 years. I began in content, moved to sales, managed a team of SEOs. So I've kind of been on both sides of hiring process. So, sorry. So after being part of more of a management team, I moved to Evoluted. So during that time, I was looking for a new company. So I've been, the employee looking for a new role. So yeah, I'm really passionate about helping people to find a role that suits them, because we interview a lot of people, we chat to a lot of people. I chat to a lot of people just because I'm really chatty and nosy. Where people have found a new role and they've not been happy, they felt like they've got to stick it out, and I just want to help to avoid that. So this is you. You get to be the big scary doll in this situation. So for anybody that's not watched Squid Games, this is like Mr. Wolf. This is the person that watches what the others are doing. So you get to control the game because your skills are so in demand as a potential employee. As somebody that is looking for a new role, the cards are all yours really right now. These are your potential employers. So these are the people, they want you. How many people are getting flooded with LinkedIn messages at the moment? Sorry, I'm really quiet. Flooded with LinkedIn messages at the moment. It's an exciting new role. So this, you are the big scary doll. You're watching these potential employers, so we're going to see where they fall down, where they sort of pass the green lights. So this is you watching them making their moves. So we're going to go through a series of rounds and see where they pass, where they fail. So in this case, the red light is bad. If they're going to stumble, they're going to fall down, we probably don't want to work with them. If they're getting through all these green lights, they get to the finish line, they get to your sort of short list, you probably do want to work with them. So when we're going through these different rounds, some things might mean more to you than others. Some things might, you value it more than you value something else. And it's not an exhaustive list, there's definitely so much more that we can talk about, but I've got 20 minutes, the time has gone off, so I don't know how long we've actually got left, but I'll take a guess. So, round one is job ads. So this is probably the first touch point that you're going to have with somebody. Like, even if it's just reading something that someone shared on LinkedIn or Twitter, it's the first impression. Even if, you know, you're actively looking for a job, you've read their job description, it's the first impression you can get of a company in some situations. So, a red light, things where people stumble. People do actually grow. I'm not saying that it's a complete lie, but you know how every job ad starts with, due to recent growth, we're hiring. Are you though? Are you really? It's something that's just worth questioning when you get to interview stage. So we're starting to see some nice job ads crop up that say, we're increasing from a team of this to this. That's great. But a lot of them just start with due to recent growth. Like, what does that mean? So at interview stage, it's definitely worth asking, is this to replace somebody? Is this a brand new role? How long did the previous person hold the position? The job ads that, this may be just my personal preference because I don't like being told what to do, but you will be a person that is X, Y, and Z. You will be a person that does all of these things. You know, it's a huge list straight away. You're reading this and thinking, oh God, that seems like a lot. Then it goes into the salary. So you're thinking, okay, for this salary, I'm going to do all these things, but I don't know what the salary is. Great, cool. So, you know, if you've been on LinkedIn or Twitter at any point, even for 1 minute in the last, you know, few months, you've probably seen that people are talking about they don't like competitive salaries. General feeling is that people sense that, you know, a company's trying to, you know, swindle you out of some money. Negotiate, oh shit, how do I go back? Sorry for the language. Salary is competitive. Yeah, people are trying to, you know, get away with paying as little as possible. In some cases, that might not be true. Oh God, I thought I'd done it again. It might be that actually they are willing to pay more for the right person, but we'll get onto it in the green light. But it can just be a really good thing that people have worked out what their bandings actually are. Then in the job ad, we get to the benefits. So we've gone through this massive list of things that you're going to do for them. You don't know what the salary is. You've got some benefits, and they're pretty basic, really simple things. Like, at this point, you're already thinking, no, I'm kind of happy where I am, actually, thank you. And then no mention of what, you know, your sort of flexible arrangements are. Where do you work from? What sort of hours do you do? Who knows? You'd have to talk to them first. This is an example, to me, of the ones that I get fairly often. These are the most common kind of ones that you see. So, it's a really small company intro, just, we do this. Great, okay, I guess that anyway. Then they're going to go straight into that really long list, no clues about the salary, and the benefits are very minimal. Things like you get to dress casually, you get to park, and you get really, you know, here's the very minimal holidays that you were allowed. That's not a benefit, is it? That's legal. So what's a green light on a more positive note? Because I'm not here just to rant. So for me, I really like an explanation of the current team setup. And I appreciate, you know, if it's a big company and you're recruiting all the time, it's not as easy to do that for every single job. But for the ones that do, the ones that say things like, we're increasing from a team of 4 to 5, great. Then you've already got a feeling of, you know, how big the team is, because you might do better working in a small team, in a big team, in a start-up team, something that works for you. So the point of everything that we're talking about today is about finding things that work for you and work for the employer as well. So then they'll go straight into the benefits, not straight into the responsibilities, straight into why should you work for them. You're already employed somewhere, I'm guessing. So why should you leave your current role and go and work for them? Well, here's a list of reasons why. It's showing you that they care. They've spent time thinking about, okay, what can we do to attract talent and to retain talent? Then we're going into the salary. So a range generally I think works best. To me, it just kind of shows that the company has thought about transparency. They've done the market research. They've seen, you know, what are people paying? What should we be paying? And, you know, if you're publishing it publicly, people internally probably aren't being underpaid that. So that's a really good sign for me that, you know, everybody's being paid fairly. Just because there's a certain range doesn't mean that you don't, you know, you can't go in and ask for more. You can definitely go in and ask for more, but it just gives you a rough idea. You know, if it's really, really low and you think, it's not for me, it just saves all that headache, really. So then we go into responsibilities, and it doesn't have to be this super massive exhaustive list. Like, if you ever read those job ads where you're just falling asleep thinking, oh God, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z, and it's just never ending. Like, if you're looking at a job ad, it's probably a similar job to what you're doing now, or it's a step up, and you know roughly what you need to do. So it just kind of needs to be a summary of roughly what you'll be responsible for. And then the additional perks, so the things that aren't a benefit, you know, it's not things that we're going to use as a, here's why you should definitely work for this company, but an additional perk. So like for us, we got a new MacBook. To me, that's not a benefit, but it is a perk. You know, it's not something that's going to sell me a role, but it is like a nice to have. Except I couldn't open it and I couldn't type on it for 2 weeks, so yeah, maybe it's not a perk. So this, to me, is an example of a job ad that works really well. These are the ones that grab my attention a bit more, and I think, yeah, you are quite a nice company to work for. So we've got some really specific detail on why they're actually recruiting. You know, yes, we do have to replace people. There's no point lying about that. We do replace people. People move. People change agencies. They go in-house. They do whatever. But we do also grow, so it's nice to know why you're actually recruiting for that role. And then a longer company description, so learn more about who they actually are, what are their values, where are they wanting to take the business, you know, is this like a new thing that they're starting up, or are they trying to push this service further? And then straight into why you want to work for them. Before the responsibilities, it's just such a nice to have for me. That salary range, again, you know, roughly, okay, so it's a great place to work. We know roughly how much we're going to get paid, we might be able to push it a little bit. But I did once have a message that said, there's some wiggle room either way. What? So I can get paid less than this range? Like, you're all right, thanks. But, you know, you can always negotiate for higher as well. Then the expectations of flexibility, which we'll come on to in another round. But if they're stating this right from the beginning, you know, it's in a job ad, it's in writing, you get a better feeling for it. Then we'll move on to responsibility. Again, not every little detail is mentioned, but we get a good feel for, you know, what you're going to be doing. So many are out already, so many I've already ignored, can't even be bothered. Round 2, sliding into your DMs. So Ash did this for a while. To me, sent me a lot of dog memes, and here I am, so it worked. But there's more to it than that, really. I'm just a pushover. So the red lights for me are they haven't looked at your LinkedIn profile. Like, it's such a small thing, but if they're going to send you a message, you know, the headhunting, the wanting people specifically, they haven't looked at your thing, they've sent you an email, they're obviously sending so many people. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's a good tool, great, whatever, but I know I'm just a number, I know I'm not that special, I know you don't really want me specifically. And then here's an irrelevant job spec. So I get sent a lot of jobs that are probably right for me, and that's great. I can see that they've, you know, considered my sort of work history, where I might want to go next, or where I am now. But the ones where it's like, here's a social media position, like, I don't have a clue about that. So there's no point sending me it. Or it's one that's way too junior or way too senior, like, you've not done the research there, so no. And then here's a job that's absolutely miles away, and you need to be in the office. So, like, have you looked at the profile, or do you just not know where Barnsley is? That wasn't meant to be the funny bit. Thanks, everyone. So yeah, an example of, to me, the ones that just get ignored. To be honest, as soon as I see email, I'm like, ugh, can't be bothered. But I open anyway because I don't like the notifications. So, you know, email, probably just a number. I don't like the ones that start about them. I am recruiting. I need this. I'm looking for whatever. All right, good for you. But like, what's in it for me? You're trying to recruit somebody. We're in such an employee-driven market. Like, what is in it for me? Why should I want to move? I sound so angry. But I am. It's such an important thing that's happening right now. So then that whole standard job spec and saying, you know, if you want to apply. So it's not even, shall we have a chat together? I think you'd be a good fit. Can you apply? It's like, if you want to. All right. And then showing that you're not special. So just, you know, if you know anyone else, if you're not interested, please reply to this email, or please, you know, refer somebody else. And I'm like, oh, so you don't want me? After all, it kind of feels like that. I don't fancy you, I fancy your mate, but, you know, whatever. So, more positive note, the green light, the ones that get into that finish line, they look at your LinkedIn profile, then send you a connection request, or they send you a message and you're like, oh, okay, they're interested in me now. So I think you would be the perfect fit for this role. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's just a nice thing to start with. They actually think that you would be a good fit for them. Great, nice. Here's the job spec, so you actually get a little bit more detail. They're not listing everything in that message, because you know the ones that you get and it just goes on, and you think, can't be asked to read that. But they attach it, or they send you to a link on their website, so they're showing you that we've put some thought into this, please visit our careers page, like we've put things on there to show you why it's a good place to work. But in the message itself, because if you just send a link, you're expecting that people are going to click that link. I haven't got time for that. So if you're actually listing within that message why it's a good place to work, tell me before I click that link, tell me before I've read somebody else's message, why is it a good place to work? What's the approximate salary range? So I know if it's worth having a conversation at this point. And generally the ones that will send you the salary range are the ones that are better salary ranges because they're trying to shout about it. And then again, some additional perks just to, sweeten the deal a little bit. So an example of the ones that I probably would reply to, not to say, yes, I would love to work with you, but just to say, I'm happy where I am, thank you, but, bear me in mind for future, just if anything goes wrong. It's always nice to be polite. So these are the ones that start with, hi Jen, I've looked at your profile, think you'd be a great fit. And, they're talking about me, they're making me feel special, like I would be a really good fit for them and they want me. So I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I would be a good fit. Okay, but why would I want to move from where I am right now? Well, here's why, and they tell you, they give you all these sort of benefits, again, like the job ad, but in a more personalised way. So, tell you the salary range, great, and then that sort of friendly message to me goes a really long way. So anyone that's ever interviewed or had that sort of informal chat with companies, like I've had a few informal chats with companies when I was looking to move roles, and the ones that make that time to have that more informal time just to chat about stuff, you're not feeling questioned about your knowledge or your work experience or about you get that nice downtime with them. That to me goes a really, really long way. Flexibility, round 3. So flexibility to me kind of means the location and the hours, so we'll talk about both. So some job ads, there was honestly one, and I think it was Bournemouth, or it was something that began with a B, and it was somewhere down south, and it read as though, we got a new office, you best be in it, basically. And I was like, well, that's too far for a start, and also no. But the way that it was written could have just been changed, and it kind of showed you their mindset and how they thought about things. So they started by saying, we've recently got this amazing new office. Next sentence, in bold, just so you didn't miss it, was like, you'll be expected to work from the office 3 days per week. Okay, sounds a bit aggressive, but all right. But actually, they could have flipped that if they had a different mindset of, we work in a hybrid situation. You will work from home 2 days a week, you work from the office 2 days a week. We've recently invested in new offices. That to me just sounds a lot nicer, and it shows you why they care about things a little bit differently. So I will take that one with a pinch of salt, but it's not for me. Work from home is possible, so whether they're saying this on sort of job ads or they're saying it in the interview, it needs probing further. So just because it's possible doesn't mean it's going to happen. I have actually interviewed people where they've said, well, in the interview they said that work from home was possible, and then I've been in the office all the time. So it just needs digging that bit further, get the expectations right from the beginning. Where do you expect me to be working from? What is okay, what's not okay? Anyone that says fast-paced from, whether it's a job ad or even during the interview is a big, no for me. We do work in a fast-paced industry. So anyone that says that, does that mean it's extra fast? And then I have actually seen jobs, I don't know if they're just trying to fill space because they've got no benefits, but saying you'll be expected to work late for the needs of the business now and then, something like that. But if you're stating that, it sounds like you'll be expected to work late quite a lot of the time. It happens, we all do our extra bits, but not all the time. So, green light, for me, the best thing is ultimate flexibility. We're all adults. If somewhere is offering, we have the office, we have work from home, do what's best for you, that's the best thing. But it's about you, it's about what works best for you. So if they're saying we're office based or we're remote or hybrid, this is where we dig a little bit deeper. So, okay, you offer a hybrid model, what does this mean? Does it mean, if you're saying, yeah, you'll be in 3 days, is this your 3 days or is this my 3 days? Who's setting this? Just so we can get off on the right foot, we know both ways what's expected. And then core hours. Are we working 9 to 5? Do we have to be in sort of a set number of time? What's the situation? Ask about it. It's not a bad thing. And then what sort of flexible working hours, which is kind of the same thing. Bye. There's no way that's 2 minutes, by the way. When he came back, that said 15. So I think that's a lie. Round 4, we're going to skip through these quite quickly, but we'll just cut into the Q&A time just so no one grills me on anything. Feel free to ask me questions at the end though. So, when thinking about training and progression, for me they kind of go hand in hand because your employer should want to train you, they should want to help you progress. So, if you're asking during an interview, or even if it's just written down, yeah, we do training. Okay, what does that mean? And, you know, from the other side, not a lot of people actually question this, like, okay, yeah, that's great. But the ones that do ask a little bit further, we love to chat about it. If it's an agency or a company that do invest in training, they want to talk about it, they get excited about it. So ask them, what kind of training do you do? What was the last thing that you did? You know, do you pay for anything? Does anyone come in and do talks? What's the situation? Tell me more. You'll learn on the job. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but if that's just all it is, it's a bit shit. I have learned most of what I know on the job, and that's fine, but without that sort of official thing to back it up, you're like, is what I've read on Google true? Not sure, but here I am, no one's fired me yet. But if that's all that there is, it's not usually enough, especially if you're, you know, starting out in your career. So if you're expected to complete courses in personal time, it's a bit more difficult to ask, do you expect me to complete this course in my personal time? We'll probably lie anyway, but you can just get a feel for, is the time allocated, which we will talk about in the next round because I will make time. So onto progression. If they say, yes, there's a yearly appraisal, okay, what else? This is probably your time to ask, what time in between that sort of 12 months are you using to support me? What else can I do to get involved with my manager? Sometimes they might say things like, oh yeah, you can talk to your manager anytime. But actually no, it's not for you to make time with your manager. You should have time scheduled. You shouldn't feel like you're pestering them to talk about you and your progression. So, the green light, if they, even without you asking, tell you things like, we do this training, we've recently gone to this, we invest in this, we've got this coming up, that's great, massive green light. Don't kick me off. And then ones that ask, what do you want to develop in? Yes, part of this is them like trying to find out how self-aware you are and where you need to plug your skill gaps, but it's nice to see that, you know, things are more bespoke to you, they care about what you want to learn. And then, I'll not talk too much about it, but I'll tell you after if you want. Scheduled monthly catch-ups with your manager. So at Evoluted, we do 2 different types of catch-ups with our manager. So Dec has the fortune of talking to me at least twice a month. We get a one-to-one, so we get to talk about me, it sounds very me, this presentation. We get to talk about me, my career, you know, where am I going with my goals, am I reaching things, great. Then a second one to talk about accounts, catch-ups, are we, you know, do I need any help with anything, so we keep them nice and separate. Workloads, this is the last round. Giorgio does not need to come and wrestle the mic off me. So, nobody's really going to say to you, yeah, we just allocate you 100% of client work. Some places do, and I have talked to people that do this, and you end up just, you know, making a cup of tea and going to the toilet during that time that you're supposed to be working on clients, and you feel really guilty about it because that client is paying for you to pee, basically. So you need to ask the questions, but think about what they're not saying as well as what they are. So beyond asking what does a regular day-to-day look like, ask like how do you resource clients, like what sort of percent capacity do you work to? So I think it was Louise Parker from Penaluna that did a survey on Twitter, and most of the respondents, like the sort of agency owners, commented back, and most of them are 70% resourced. So these are the places where they've, you know, definitely thought, how much work can we give these people to work on clients so they've still got time to do other things. So if they're giving you like ranges or percents or just something to work with, you get a good feel for it. If they don't, if they're a bit, I don't know, then that's just not a great sign, is it? So people, I've still put this on here because I think a lot of people have felt like they've done, you know, you can never do enough, and you're working outside of your hours, you're replying to things, you're responding to emails because you've done your work, and you feel like you just need to pick up on some emails, whether that's in the evening, whether that's on annual leave. So you probably see more of this on social, but the ones that kind of praise those people, I feel like it's not as common now, but you know when someone used to post something like, oh, I'm working late tonight, and people are like, oh yeah, you're so dedicated. Grow up. So, got a life. Green light. The ones that will specifically tell you when you ask, you know, what sort of workloads are you working towards. We operate at 7% capacity, or we operate at an 80% capacity, and that leaves X% for doing things like training to help you progress, or it leaves things for just normal things within the workday, because whether you work from home, whether you work from the office, you still need to pee, you still need to make a drink, you still need to chat to people and ask them about what's going on in their lives, and you know, the client's not really paying for that. You need that downtime. So things like turning off Slack notifications, we do this at Evoluted, and I just couldn't believe it personally, and I was like, oh my god, people actually don't reply to stuff all of the time. It's a really nice thing to be told, please don't reply to this, please get off Slack. And if it's constantly encouraged, especially if people are saying this from the beginning, it's a really good sign that people want you to switch off, they care about that well-being. So I haven't covered all of the points that I really wanted to cover, and there's so much more we can talk about. So feel free to come and have a chat afterwards. But basically, that's you. We've killed off so many potential employers that we don't want to work with. Some of them are a bit crap. Those ones that are left standing, I mean, they look a bit hunched, but it was the best I could find. They're the ones that have made it to that finish line. They're the green light. We want to work with them. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's more, I don't know why I put SEO and sausage dogs, because it's more sausage dogs and SEO, but yeah, if you want to, that's correct.
Oh. Where are you going? I've just got a second microphone so I can talk to you. I see how it is. She gives you all a blueprint on how to hire her, and as soon as I come back on stage, she runs off.
He's not my line manager, it's fine.
That's fine. That's him. Terrible job. I'm joking. I love you. That was fabulous, Jen. You killed it.
Ciao.
Absolutely smashed it.
We'll have some good Q&As in a bit.
We can, yeah.
Are we doing them now?
We're running over a little bit, so unfortunately
Well,
not.
we can do them at the end, that's great.
Yeah.
But we can all chat like later and stuff.
I just wanted to say it was a fabulous presentation,
Thanks.
and I'm very glad that we're doing most of the things you said. If there's anything we're not, then
I'll tell you, don't worry.
sort it out. Another big round of applause for Jen, please, everybody. Now, I'm going to buy some time while Marley flicks over the presentations, ready for Rosa Mitchell to come up next. Really should have been better at this by this point. I mean, 3 years and I'm still making this many mock-ups. It's not very good, is it? Thanks, Jen. The rest of them agreed. Oh, wow. Thanks. Jen, even Jen says we're shit. Sorry. But I hope you all enjoyed that. I found it really eye-opening. There was some great content in there. Like I said, there is a blueprint for all of you to hire now. Anybody that's struggling to get people through the door, anybody that's looking to grow their teams. We'll share that afterwards online. You can take an exact copy. Don't use the lorem ipsum. That's not going to work. People will just think you're insane. But now that it's ready, I would like to welcome up your next speaker for the evening, Rosa Mitchell, who is Head of PR at Connective 3. Please give her a big round of applause. So I'm going to get out of the way nice and quick so you can get cracking and we can do things. Forgot to say, we are going to do Q&A at the end. So anybody that does have questions for Jen, or if you have questions for Rosa afterwards, save them up, write them down. Once all the 3 speakers are done, we're going to get them all back up on stage, and it's going to be just like an assault, you know, fire away. We'll run round, fire questions at them, lightning round. It's fine, right? Excellent. Just check your mics on. Flick the button up. On the mic.
Hello? There
Magic.
we go.
Perfect. Brilliant.
Fab.
Round of applause. Rosa, over to you.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, guys. It's really, really nice to be here. It's so nice to do these kind of things in person again. I look terrible on a Zoom screen, honestly. It's the hair colour, I think. So I'm Rosa, and I'm from Connective 3. I'm head of PR there. I'm going to be talking to you today about how to navigate the ever-changing media agenda. And I am going to start with an apology. Because this doesn't work. Oh no, come right. Okay, hang on, sorry, you're all getting a little sneak preview there. So I'm going to start with an apology because I am going to be talking about COVID-19 a little bit. And I know we all hate it, and I know it's everyone's least favourite topic, and we hate thinking about lockdowns and the last 2 years and everything like that, but it is relevant. Over the past 18 months, e-commerce growth has been absolutely massive. We've seen unbelievable rises in people going online and using online to buy things. I understand not all of you may work in e-commerce and you may not all have e-commerce clients, but it's a really, really good indicator of what's going to happen in the online space. And it's only going to set to continue over the next few years as well. The predictive growth for e-commerce and online is absolutely huge, more so than we've seen in a long, long time. And a lot of that is because of COVID-19 and people seeing how important it is to be online and how important it is to sell your products and services online. So this has led to a huge surge in people looking for link building and digital PR. I'm sure everyone who's working for agencies, and I'm sure a lot of people in-house have been really, really desperate to hire at the moment. You're getting lots of new business. It's really, really exciting and really, really fun. And there's some stats here that just prove that this is going to carry on. 16%, it's going to accelerate. It's going to be worth 417 billion by 2025. There's just loads of really, really kind of high stats about how it's going to grow over the next couple of years. So that was kind of like what COVID has done to the industry. But it's also showed us how fast the news agenda can change. So if you cast your mind back to just before lockdown, when we all thought travel was still possible, we were all going to the pub, it was great. Spare a thought for these two campaigns that launched just at February and March about travel. Yeah, pretty bad timing. But I also have a confession as well. This is meant to be a GIF, but it's not working, but you can see James Bond on there anyway. I planned a really, really, really nice campaign for one of my clients. We had beautiful designs. It was all about James Bond's car. We had a quote from Barbara Broccoli. That's not a made-up name. She's actually part of the James Bond franchise. And it was just fantastic, and we were so excited to launch it. And then No Time to Die is apparently no time to be released. It was delayed, and it was delayed, and it was delayed, and it was delayed, and it was delayed. And it was delayed so much that, well, the client didn't leave us because the campaign was delayed, but the client ended up leaving us before we could do the campaign, which was we were so disappointed in. But this does happen, and COVID is a really, really good indicator of why this happens, and an example of how it happens and how so many people had to put campaigns on the back burner if they were to do with travel or if they were to do with hospitality, or lots of things like that. But COVID isn't the only thing that changes in the news agenda. Lots of things can change. Before COVID, we had Brexit. Before Brexit, we had Wagatha Christie. There's lots of things that journalists absolutely love talking about, which means they might ignore your story. So what we need to do as good PR practitioners is to de-risk campaigns. So the job of the week, I'm glad I remember the acronym, survey in 2022, one of the top challenges that communications professionals had was cutting through the clutter and noise. That's the news agenda. There is so much going on in the world, and there has been over the past 3 to 4 years, that to really, really break through that and to really get people to want to talk about your story, want to talk about your client is really, really difficult. But there are ways that you can do it. So what we do at C3 is we do more than just big creatives, and I learnt my lesson with that James Bond campaign. We do planned campaigns, which is PR bread and butter, and then we do reactive and proactive activity as well, and I'm going to talk you through how to do that. So campaign work with my clients is actually only 60 to 70% of the link opportunities that we have. 40 to 30 of the links that we grow are from proactive and reactive stuff that we do. That is kind of doesn't hinge on one story and doesn't hinge on the news agenda super closely. So if something does change dramatically, then we can work with that. Two of our clients, for example, Good Move, who buy houses, and Thoughtful. Thoughtful are a card company, so they do lots of nice, really fun design cards. In the last year, we've built 150 links for Good Move from proactive and reactive activity, and 100 for Thoughtful. Two very different industries and two very different approaches to proactive and reactive, but kind of examples about how it can work really well. So proactive, this is working with your client or working with your business that you own, and using everything that you can possibly use from them to build these links. So there's 10 questions here that you can answer and you can use to actually build links and get your client in certain publications. So the first one is, do you work with any charities? There's lots of charity trade press that really like stories about collaborations, especially if you've raised quite a lot of money. it can work really well, and I've got a couple of examples of how we've done that for Thoughtful a little bit later on. Are you launching any new products? So Trade Press is brilliant, kind of across board for this. We work with a really large kitchen retailer, and if we launch a new range of kitchens, then they love talking about it in Ideal Home or House Beautiful, if you've got really, really nice imagery for it. So that's a really nice way to do it. It kind of works across board as well. In construction, some of our clients in construction, if there's a new safety product, lots of Trade Press will talk about it. Not like the sexiest, but still a good way to build links. Are you on a recruitment drive? So I know everyone is at the moment. And this might not sound like the easiest way to build links, but if you go very locally with it, so say if you are based in Liverpool and you've got a business that's hiring 5 or 6 staff members, if you speak to the Liverpool Echo, if you speak to the Crosby Herald, the Southport Visitor, and you say this is going to make a huge impact on the local people because of this amount of jobs, you can work a really nice story from that, and it works really well. So what other marketing plans do you have? So this is if you work really closely with your content team, if there's anything that they've got coming up that they're producing, any guides, so buying guides if you're e-commerce, design guides if it's kind of design, Black Friday guides, that kind of thing that they're going to host on site, if you can repurpose them and promote them, that's another really, really great way to get that out there and get journalists talking about it. Are you doing any corporate social responsibility work, similar again to the charities? If you've got like a big drive for that, your clients really, really into that, it's a great way to get your links. Do you have a spokesperson? Are they sometimes on TV? You can do a press release about that. Are you seeing any consumer trends? This is a big one again for e-commerce. So if you're seeing a huge spike in, for example, for one of our clients over the last year, there's been a huge spike in popcorn makers, which is really kind of quite cute and quite interesting. So a little story turned around on how people stayed in all last year and watched films. Popcorn makers were on a rise. Again, a really cute, nice way to do a little story from it. Do you have a list of all campaigns? So repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. Really, really important to do. If something comes up in the news that's similar to a campaign that you've done in the past, rework your story and go for that again. Do you have a content calendar? So anything you can repurpose from the blog, go for it. And do you have a list of old media placements? So any kind of link rec that you can do, looking for broken links, a really great way to get those numbers up. So this is an example just from the past few weeks of some proactive stuff that we've been doing. One, we've got a retail brand that's all about sustainability. So how to nail your Christmas shopping without screwing over the planet. That was just link rec, a really, really great link. We've got some nice product placement there for happy holidays. Thoughtful they did a collaboration with Firebrand Brewing. So we spoke to Firebrand Brewing and they just put a link back to Thoughtful on their website. Really, really simple, but just kind of not what you'd think of first of all. And then UK fundraising is a great one to go to if you're doing any collaborations with charities. They'll always talk about it and put a link in it as well. So some kind of really straightforward quick wins there that you can do to build those links up and those numbers up. And just like my dress sense, it's not sexy, but it is consistent. And then the next thing to do is reactive. So a lot of people call this newsjacking as well, and it is something that a lot of people do, but we call it reactive. It's just a slightly different name. So I've used an example here of James Bond, and you probably can't see the writing there because it's quite small, but we use a tool called Linkfluence, and it brings up kind of everything that people are talking about a certain subject that you want to learn about. So in this little circle here, any kind of reference to James Bond, if you can see at the side, it's got names like Idris Elba, Dwayne Johnson, Henry Cavill. So it's obvious that people are talking about who's going to be the next Bond. And you can kind of just pull that straight away from the social listening data without having to really scroll through Twitter, Facebook or Instagram and have a look. And it also comes up with a lot of sentiment and demographics as well, so you can make sure who you're targeting is the right kind of demographics. But it's a really great way to have a look through what people are talking about. If there's a subject that you've got, a charity or a campaign, just have a look through it and see what people are talking about and see how you can jump on that with a comment or a quote. So Linkfluence is a tool that we use, but it is quite expensive. But there are some free ones that you can use online. So social searcher is a great way to kind of just type in a phrase and then look at what people are talking about. It's not quite as detailed as Linkfluence, but it's free. It's a really great one to use. And with Audience, you can get one free report. I might get told off for saying this, but you can then delete the report and go and get another one. But this stays in that room. Proactive and reactive, brilliant ways to kind of go out there and get results. But as everything, all of this means nothing without good outreach. Kind of, it's our bread and butter as PRs, and we have to have that down before we do any of the proactive and reactive stuff. So I'm going to give you some little tips here that work really, really well for me. One of the best ways of building up a really good media list for me when I've got a new client is to do the Ahref link intersect. So here you'd take your 3 biggest competitors, then you'd put your client's website in at the bottom, and it brings up websites that have linked to your competitors and not linked to you. So you come up with all these sites that you know are going to work, that you know will cover content similar to what you're looking at, but haven't linked to you yet. So it's a great way to diversify your links as well. And then you can put all these into a batch analysis on Ahrefs as well, and just see if they're worth contacting, if they're worth talking about, and then they'll publish your stuff. It's a great way to get that start and media list. And then we've got some tools here that we use to build media lists. So Ahrefs, obviously, I've just talked about. It's a really great one. BuzzSumo is a really great one. Again, looking at what people are talking about, pulling those journalists through. Gorkana Group, and I know people use Roxhill and Vulio. We use Vulio at C3, but I know I've used all different kinds, and they can be really useful. My personal favourite is just to use Google. So to just see who's talking about similar things, who talks about similar themes and topics, and then using one of these to pull the journalist details through, I think is the best way to do it. It is time consuming, but I think one of the most important things about PR is getting your media list right. If you do that, you can just cut through all the crap. You know, you're contacting someone who's relevant, and it's much more likely that you're going to get results. So when we send out emails, we do bulk send some of our emails, and we use BuzzStream. But again, if you've really done your research on your media list, this is not that big of an issue. I spoke to a journalist called Anya Merowitz just yesterday. She did some chats with our team, and she said bulk sending isn't a dirty word. It's not a terrible thing to do as long as you've done your research first and you are contacting relevant people. So getting that media list bit right is really important. We use BuzzStream. It's got some issues, but it is one of the best systems that I've used. It's really great for A/B tests in your email headline as well. If you've got kind of like 2 different ideas, you can send one of it to half journalists and the other one to the other half, seeing who comes through most, where you get the most opens from. It's a really good way to do it. Aim high. So one of our clients is in the US, and they did a campaign recently on the most trolled NFL player. I can't remember his name, Tom someone. But we got a link on Fox 28, and then it kind of went absolutely everywhere after that, kind of from that one link. It was syndicated across loads and loads of different sites, and then we got loads of non-syndicated links from it as well. So Fox 28 is a great site to hit all these other ones up with. And there's a few different sites like that, whereas once the ball starts rolling and you're on it, then you get more and more and more links coming through. So it's good to work that out and always put them at the top of your list. And then when you are contacting journalists, so only go with relevant information. This is pretty obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people do it. Don't contact anyone to do with work or HR about the top kitchen trends. I know it sounds pretty obvious, but sometimes people bulk send, and it does happen. And as my dad always used to tell me, don't try and be too clever. Journalists hate words like pioneering and spearheading and exponential. The reading age of the tabloids, and I know not all of you will be contacting tabloids, but it's 9 years old. So you need to be really, really, I know that's a crazy fact, isn't it? You need to be really simple in your language and really clear and concise in your messaging. Don't try and be too clever with lots of nice, sexy words. A lot of journalists will just ignore it. So when you are pitching in your email, always go for 3 whys and a what. So why now? What works really well here is talking about Google search trends. So if you're saying Google search trends for garden furniture have gone up 700% in the last month, here's the best ways to decorate your garden, something like that. So always start with a why. Why them? Why does it work for this journalist? Again, if you've done your research, it'll be because they've talked about stuff similar. You can mention that if you want. You don't have to, but it does work nicely sometimes. Why you? Our client knows a lot about this subject because they're experts in it because of this X, Y, and Z. And then what you're selling, what's the story, what's the pitch. So always keep that in mind. It's a really great way to make sure you're clear, concise, but you're getting your message across. Respect their time. So journalists are really busy, so don't overload them with too much information or make it like really difficult to get to the subject and to get to what you're talking about. And do not harass them. Just today, actually, we got an email from a journalist saying the email wasn't to mean, but underneath she just put bye full stop because we'd sent a follow-up, and it did make us laugh. But it is really important to not harass journalists. I've spoken to quite a lot of journalists about this, and it does vary, but I've heard one follow-up is kind of the best way to do it. Never more than two. Never more than two. If you've got a really good story that you think is really going to work and they've potentially not opened the email, I would say two, but other than that, just one. And then make them look good. So just like everything in life, journalists, if they can get something they want from you, they will use it. So do everything in your power to give them something that will make them look good, will make them have a story that's really readable, that loads of people will click through, a tool that's really useful, any stats or figures that can support the type of industry they talk about, anything that will make them look good, make that really, really, really clear in your outreach and your email pitch, and they'll love you for it. And then that's it. Thanks, everyone.
That came all of a sudden at the end. I've had to leg it from the back. Oh my God. Rosa, thank you very much. That's very insightful, fabulous. I love that you use BuzzStream as well. My favourite tool, used it for years. Yeah. The interface could be a little bit better. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but by God, it's powerful. Love it.
Saves a lot of time.
Absolutely. Again, if you have questions, please do save them for the end. It's my fault that we're running a little bit late, but we are going to do a Q&A at the end, so please do save your questions. Anybody watching the live stream, I know that you're still just seeing a presentation and you're not going to see us. I'm very sorry. The camera has failed us tonight. But yeah, if you want to ask questions on the YouTube live chat, you can do that as well. Everybody here is looking at me like, who are you talking to? What? But Rosa, another big round of applause. That was a fabulous talk. Thank you very much. Wow, we're smashing through it tonight. I know we were running a little bit late, but our fabulous speakers have kept us on track. Thank you very much, both of you. I'm not going to talk for too long because it is the break time. We're going to take half an hour break for those of you watching the live stream. Go make yourself a cup of tea, get your tea, whatever you need to do. Pop to the loo, get your comfy slippers on because it is getting a bit cold at the moment. We're approaching December, only a month till Christmas. For those of you here with us tonight, you'll be pleased to know it's cake time. There we go. Woo! Sorry if I just burst your eardrums. Ashley at the back is going to be giving you a wonderful selection of different cakes. I know that there is a very nice salted caramel option. There is an Oreo and chocolate cake. There is a Biscoff cake, my personal favourite. And there's something else which I've completely forgotten. What is it? He hasn't got a clue either. There's another type of cake as well, which I'm sure is going to be equally lovely. So please do go and help yourself at the back. Pop out, get yourself another drink. Feel free to have a quick go at Mario. It's not competition time yet, but if you want to get a bit of practice in, you can do. Chris, wherever he is going to be running it outside. Hopefully you realise that beforehand, otherwise he's going to hate me later. Pop to the loo, whatever you need to do, and we will see you back at about 7 o'clock, where we will be welcoming Mr. Stephen Kenwright to the stage. Thank you very much for being with us so far. I should just use that more often. Not that dark. Brilliant. You got to see me. Excellent. Started an agency, started a Carmax business, struggles with the lights. Can't have them all. Evoluted team, quiet at the back, please. I'm watching you. P45's coming your way. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. I know we're running late again. It should just be a catchphrase at this point. I hope you enjoyed the first two speakers. They were absolutely fabulous. I loved watching them. We've now got our third speaker of the night, Mr. Stephen Kenwright, who I'll welcome to the stage in a minute. So please do get comfy. After this talk, we are going to do a bit of a Q&A panel. So everybody who didn't get to ask your burning questions for Jen and Rosa beforehand, save them up, keep them in mind. You'll probably have some more for Stephen in a minute as well. We're going to do a Q&A. We'll get them all up on here. I'll run around out of breath, throwing the microphone in your faces, answer all your questions. And then after that, we'll just do a little bit of a close down on the stage here before we go and do all the fun stuff. You know, the Jenga, the Mario Kart. I've seen some lap times on there already. There's some good times to beat. So I hope you're all getting your fingers and thumbs flexed and see you all doing this throughout the talk, ready to smash those lap times. There's an awesome prize, by the way. I don't know if I didn't say this beforehand. It's my fault. The person who gets the best lap time tonight is going to win a supercar driving experience. Can I get a woo? There we go. You're on top right now. That's why you're laughing. Yeah. You got to beat Lucas. We'll never hear the end of it in the office if he's on top at the end of the night, and we have to pay for him to go on a fucking driving experience. So go out there, smash Mario Kart. Like I said, there's going to be Jenga. I think there's an absolute ton of cake left as well. We ordered like twice as much cake as we needed for all of you here because we're lovely like that. So stuff your faces. You're going to need it to soak up all the alcohol as well. And yeah, all your party poppers in your little bags, if you have looked in your little gift bags, save those till the end. I'm going to get the team on stage to do some nice camera work. We're going to be recording. We're going to get some nice photos, and we'll do a boom, nice party pop. Sound effects. I'm brilliant, right? But without further ado, sorry, I've kept you waiting enough already. Stephen, please come to the stage. Massive round of applause, everyone.
Hello. Right. Firstly, I've got some shit to do away. If anyone has seen this week's episode of The Source, like and subscribe, you will have noticed that we did something at the UK Search Awards where we asked everyone to turn on their airdrop, and if I can do my best Liv Bennett impression, oi oi, turn your fucking airdrop on. If you do that right now, here's what's going to happen. You are going to potentially be the recipient of a ticket to The Source Live, which is basically where we're going to dissect a lot of case studies, a lot of things that we've done, exactly how we have done those things. It is a physical event. It will exist somewhere in the not too distant future. If you do get one of those, the first 5 people who tweet that ticket will receive a bottle of Rise at 7 Festive Spiced Rum. And a Rise at 7, I believe it's called a Snapback. So, first 5 people to tweet at Rise at 7, hashtag Sheffield DM, hashtag Sheffield DM, at Sheffield DM. Not I've used the hashtag, I'm sorry. Do that, and the first 5 will receive that tonight. We've got a number of those to give away. Here is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about digital PR. I'm going to talk about what it is, where it came from, why it is the way that it is. You know, make of that what you will, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, etc., etc. And I'm going to take you way back, and I'm going to show my age a little bit here. And I'm going to talk about 2012, which is when I first started in the industry. My first day in an SEO agency was the day after Google rolled out what it called the Penguin algorithm. So my first day in an SEO agency was fucking manic. It was clean this up, it was going through backlinks for Ann Summers, it was going through backlinks for Fig Leaves, and firstly, first day on the job, 22 years old, I'm like, this is what work is, this is how industry should be, doing this kind of stuff. But what happened around that time, there was this innovation trigger, let's call it, and pretend that we are really sophisticated like Gartner in the hype cycle. This innovation trigger where everyone goes, hang on, can't do link building anymore. Link building is bad, link building is naughty. What we're going to do instead is content marketing. And what did we do differently? Not a lot, really. Kind of did link building. And you can see at the beginning of October-ish 2012, that's the intersection, that's the moment that link building died, its first death, and content marketing started to skyrocket. And what's really interesting about how this happens, this is a US specific graph, and that's going to be relevant in a second as well, and what we're going to talk about. But the reason that I think this is really interesting, why these trends happen, is because SEOs are guest posters. SEOs are people who create content, put thought leadership out into the world because they get links for it. So they drive this conversation. They are the people who are deciding what we talk about and how we talk about it, because they're the people who write on Forbes. They're the people who have the big active communities on moz.com who decide that instead of link building, we're going to talk about content marketing. So I'm going to show you the first digital PR campaign, the first campaign that we called digital PR at Branded 3, what it looked like, how it worked, and what it did, basically. This went live in June of 2014. It went live on Father's Day, funnily enough, and it was for a cosmetic surgery company called Transform. Transform had been part of a documentary called Brits, Bums and Botox. It was a bit of an expose, and they didn't go out of it brilliantly, to be honest. Transform were one of those companies that were seen somewhat as the cowboys of the industry, and they realized that they had to grow up. They realized that they had to start being the responsible people who turn away people who are too young or aren't ready for cosmetic surgery. So they wanted to start owning this conversation. They wanted to start being the thought leaders in that space. And I pitched them an idea, and I worked with Beth Hibbert, who is now head of PR at Big Brand Ideas, and Vic Morton, who's now head of PR at Journey Further, on this campaign. Back in 2014, I think I was the head of SEO at the time at Branded 3. And what this actually did, the way that this mechanic worked, was a Google Maps overlay, and we took last 4 years of Transform's CRM data, and we mapped it against individual postcode towns. And then we mapped that against the particular procedures that people are inquiring about, and the gender, basically, of the people who were inquiring for those procedures. And we found all sorts of interesting PR headlines, like the original one that we went out with when we launched as an exclusive on The Sun, back on Father's Day. We got print coverage for this as well, which was Blackpool is the boob job capital of the UK. By proportion, more people from Blackpool inquire about boob jobs than anywhere else. And Transform are the market leaders, so they have legitimate claim to be able to talk about this data. Then there were secondary angles. There were other interesting stories, like the second most prevalent age group of people who are inquiring about facelifts are women aged 18 to 24, who probably don't need facelifts, right? So all sorts of interesting angles were coming out of here. And we had this really interesting data set that existed in an evergreen format on the Transform website, where we could start to say, Wayne Rooney got a hair transplant. Here's what that did to inquiries at Transform. How many people did Wayne Rooney inspire to get a hair transplant? Surprisingly a lot. But the way that this exists on the website and the way that this leads people into the conversion journey of Transform and how people would potentially become customers, you land on the particular asset, you see the headline and you click through, but then you think, maybe I'm interested in a tummy tuck and maybe I'm in Manchester. So I choose that particular procedure, and I can see a case study of someone in Manchester, just like me, who has inquired about that particular procedure. There's a soft way to get into Transform's funnel and become a customer. But not only that, we are establishing Transform as an expert, as an authority, and we can start to use messaging that we want to use from a PR point of view, in fact, and start to say, actually, out of all of the people that we've talked to, 6 out of 10 get turned away because they aren't ready for cosmetic surgery. They don't need it. They are just inquiring because they think it's cool, because they've seen it on Towie or whatever it might be, but they don't need cosmetic surgery, and we are the responsible adults here, and we don't want to do that. It was the first one that I ever ran in 2014, and I think this looks familiar, right? This is very similar to a lot of digital PR work that we do right now. Some of it's interactive, some of it isn't, some of it's maps, some of it's infographics, some of it's all sorts of different data presentation, but that's what we do a lot in this industry. We format data and we show it in interesting ways so that people who are interested in that potential service or that potential topic can have some fun and look at it. By 2015, we'd had some other, let's call them innovation triggers, things like Interflora getting penalised, things like other massive brands being penalised, and literally every high street brand that you can think of right now probably got a manual penalty during this period. And by 2015, I was pretty sure PR is the future of link building. We don't do link building anymore in this industry. PR actually is how we do it. And I was definitely willing to start saying, do you know what, links aren't dead, links are important, links are still significant, but the way that we changed our business back in 2015, 2014, 2013 to accommodate this is the people who were SEOs were no longer the people who were building links. Suddenly the discipline to create links is not an SEO discipline. It's not about analytics, it's not about spreadsheets, it's not about budgets, it's about stories, it's about human interest, it's about telling something interesting to people who might be interested in it on the behalf of brands who have something interesting to say. And I think when we're thinking about digital PR, and I told you I'd be partial and talk about Gartner, if I'm thinking about the hype cycle of where we are with digital PR right now, I think we're there. That X right there, we are just at the beginning. Actually, the digital PR trend, when everyone talks about how much it's exploding and how big a topic it is and how all-encompassing it feels like, we are so close to the beginning of this industry. We are nowhere near our peak of overinflated expectations. And just to start pulling some other Google Trends graph to show that, here is, I'll go over this side because you can see that, right? Here is a comparison of digital PR versus content marketing and link building. Digital PR still pretty much in its infancy. You can see that increase in content marketing. You can see that intersection. This is a UK specific graph. You can see it start to tail off towards the end. You see link building tailing off towards the end. And digital PR is not picking up that slack. And it feels like it is when we're in the thick of it, when we're talking about the trends on Twitter and so on. It feels like it's there, but it's not quite there yet. To put that into perspective, here is literally the raw search volume for digital PR over the course of the last 2.5 years that Rise at 7 has existed. And here is the search volume for our little agency in Sheffield. It's a small topic right now. It's so early, and it's going to be so big. When we're talking about what digital PR is and what digital PR could be, and that's what I really want to focus on for the last sort of 10 minutes. I've got some case studies to show, and I've got some things to talk through how we've done some stuff, and what I think I really want to leave everyone with is a bit of inspiration of how we can think quite big about digital PR, because where we are in the moment is a very small slice. We're a subset. We're a part of SEO. We're a part of PR, and we're not a big part. And we don't necessarily have the best parts of either, and this is our opportunity, this is our arbitrage as a business, as an industry, where we can really start to make some impact. Because the way that these two disciplines are really at odds with each other, what PRs want is what your marketing director wants, what your CMO wants, what your business owner wants. They want frequency and recency of message. They want to say something, and they want to say it again and again and again till it sinks into people, and they understand that brand is the brand to go to for this thing. What SEOs want is a different link on a different website every week if they can get it. So when we have conversations with our marketing team's client side, we've got one person there who's like, oh, if I could get on the Telegraph every week, that'd be fantastic. That's where my audience is. And we've got other people saying, we were on the Telegraph last week. That's old news, not really interested in the Telegraph again. Can you get me on a different one? Can you get me on a different website? What SEOs are interested in is hitting the rankings at just the right time, because people are now searching for that thing. So we launch our campaigns. We launch our Black Friday campaigns 3 weeks ago. Before anyone cares, before anyone talks about it, before it's in the press cycle. What PRs do is they're like, fucking hell, Black Friday, it must be on a Friday, it must be right now. That's when we need to talk about Black Friday. That's when we need to get people interested, buzzing about what we do. And those two things are so at odds. We've got this real opportunity to be able to plan things better, to be able to talk about those things in a real way. And just to kind of put this into a real kind of perspective about where they're most at, I think, relevance. Because what relevance means to an SEO often is we want a bingo blog to talk about our bingo client who pays us a lot of money to get them to talk about bingo in bingo sites. That same company, that same gambling brand is paying their media agency 10 times what they pay us to get pop-up ads on porn sites, because that's where their audience is. That's where they make the money. That's how marketing is done. And that's why we've got to think about both ends of this spectrum. We've got to think about relevance and what relevance means to Google. It's not about talking about our product in a blog that talks about products just like ours to nobody. It's about talking about something that's relevant to the brand and what we want to say, but more specifically relevant to the audience that's on that publication, and how we can do that, and how we can talk about that thing and make it feel relevant to them, because that's what's going to make our brand grow. That's what's going to make our revenue grow. So, let's try some technical stuff. Oh, we've got another graph. Okay, just to show I had another graph I'd forgotten about that I put in at the very last second. Just to show where that is. There's the trend of digital PR, and there's the trend of content marketing, and there's the trend of link building. There's PR and there's SEO. They are the big topics. They are the interesting topics. They're the things that people care about. They're the things that people talk about. They're the things that people buy. What's really interesting, I think, you see that big trend where SEO comes in. Pandemic happened and everyone goes, oh, we should stop spending on PPC right now, shouldn't we? And everyone's just gone, thank God, we don't have to think about SEO so much anymore. I thought it was quite interesting. I showed that there. So, let's try this. Let's skip that. No one needed to see that. I'm going to show a couple of examples of campaigns and how SEO and link building and PR and digital PR and content can all coexist, and how I think about digital PR and what it can do. So I'm going to show you a few videos, if videos work. The first one is for Park Dean Resorts. This is a thing that we did for our travel client Park Dean during, not during lockdown last year, but at the end of lockdown when we were going into staycations being a massive, massive thing. And I'll show you the video first and I'll talk about it, okay?
Hello and welcome to One's Royal Caravan here at Park Dean Resorts. Do mind the corgis as you come in. Please do enter. If one's not at Balmoral or Buckingham Palace, you might find me here in sunny Scarborough. These are our travel thrones that come with Philip and I when we're on holiday. Sorry Philip's not here, but he's out sailing at the moment, rocking the boat as usual. We mainly use this room to entertain and relax. Whether casually resting after a country walk, enjoying our winnings after a bingo sesh, or casually confabulating with local dignitaries, it all happens here. They're camera shy. Follow me. I believe this kitchen should be called the Rolls-Royce of sculleries. Isn't it wonderful? Now, as it is obligatory, let's have a look in the fridge. Wow, look at that chocolate cake. This is William and Harry's room for when they come to stay with Granny at the seaside. Harry loves his cockles and William likes a choc ice. Welcome to the royal bedroom. This is not where the magic happens. James is always there, one always needs protection for one's crown jewels. It's very uncouth to show off one's lavatory, but if one has a gold one, it's rather a shame not to show it off. Thank you so much for visiting today. If you would like to come and stay at one's caravan, you can always apply at parkdeanresorts.co.uk. You can leave now, you've had your tour.
A lot of work went into that. And the way that that work happened, the way that that work was allowed to happen, is we took the SEO brief of how do we get to rank for caravans? How can we talk about caravans in press in a way that's interesting to people and they want to talk about caravans, basically? So we've got that SEO brief, that how much budget would it take to be able to get that story out there? And the initial idea we pitched was a render. We were going to mock up what Queen Lizzie's caravan might look like. But then we started to think about that bigger PR scope and what we could do and how we could get talked about and how we could hit the big press. And if we're thinking about which links I guess we're most proud of or which results we're most proud of, the best link, in my view, for this campaign was on the Hull Daily Mail. We were on the Daily Mail and we were on, I think we were on Fox News and stuff because the Americans really like the Royals as well, but the Hull Daily Mail drove tens and tens and tens, I think we're probably talking about nearly 100 bookings because Scarborough is near Hull. What it didn't do was get indexed because there's a fucking canonical tag on that link. And yet I'm here talking from an SEO's point of view and saying that was the best one we got, and I think that the marketing director would agree with that. The best piece of coverage that we got from the CEO's point of view is the feature on This Morning, not indexed either, funnily enough. I'm going to show you a couple more. I think I might have time. I've definitely got time for this one. This is how do we get, and we referenced Interflora and the kind of work that Interflora did 10 years ago, how do we get flowers to be talked about in national press and in big publications? This was a much, much smaller campaign in terms of budget.
Where are they from?
They are from your unborn child for your first ever Father's Day.
Whoa.
You like them?
That's great, I love them.
So the SEO. The SEO brief for that campaign was how do we get to rank for flowers? How do we get people to talk about flowers? But the insight that drove that campaign was men receive flowers only once in their life, and that's when they die. When you are at your own funeral, you get some flowers, but unless you're dead, you don't get that to happen to you. And we found that as a huge opportunity to create a new category, to create a new product, to be able to create a spike in demand that doesn't traditionally exist within Interflora's audience, and to be able to take that insight, that thing that's relatively straightforward, and the execution quite straightforward as well. We literally gave flowers to influencers to give to their fathers and fathers of their unborn children in one of those examples. We identified some influencers who are willing to talk about that stuff, and we just gave them flowers. It's mostly TikTok related things particularly. What that meant for us is we've got a lot of video content. Video content can be really expensive if you film it yourself. But if influencers film it for you, it maybe isn't. Especially if you're giving them something, you're giving them some content that from an influencer's point of view, that's really nice. That's something they want to share with their audience. And from a search point of view, a big spike in impressions of people actually searching for Interflora, searching for flowers during Father's Day, which is not one of their 3 to 4 peak periods of the year usually. So I know we're pretty much out of time, but I think we were on a little bit late, so I might chance it and see what happens. During this, I don't have anything to say about this one other than for the fact that Tiger King's on, so I just want to show you a TV commercial we filmed when Tiger King came on the first time. This is the moment where we are going to airdrop you stuff, and if you get one of those tickets, we will organise rum to come to you during this moment. So this is kind of it from me, but I just want to show you this, and it's a little bit long, so we might not watch all of it. But how do you get injury law firms to be talked about in big publications? How do you get the kind of big publications that we want to talk about our brand and our product when it's injury law? So this is last one, so thanks. Turn on your airdrop.
My name is Kelsey Safford. I was recently featured in Netflix's Tiger King, and it just kind of portrayed my experience with Joe Exotic. During that time, I endured an injury to my left hand that led me to amputation. So it was a typical Saturday morning, cleaning and feeding, just like I do every day. And I just happened to stick my hand in the cage instead of use the proper tools. Yeah, the tiger showed me what it was made of.
Hey, this is Bobby at the DW Zoo. I need a helicopter. I've got an employee that was attacked by a tiger, and he's hurt bad.
So my biggest concern was secure the employees that were working directly with me. After that, we were also already open to the public. So it was definitely the public safety at that time. As soon as I arrived at the OU Medical Center, I was immediately taken into surgery. They had been able to reattach my hand. I was able to pick things up, put things down. I was able to write my name at the time. Everything looked good. I had all high hopes. And then he approached me and said, that there would be years of reconstructive surgery. There would be constant therapy needed. There would be a lot of work to make that hand functioning. And he couldn't tell me the percentage of capability. Hearing all that and sitting where I was sitting and knowing, my situation, I decided to amputate. I had to relearn how to live with just one hand compared to the two that I was used to for almost 30 years. It was rough for me for a little bit. I had to learn everything all over again. Small things that you don't consider, like tying your shoes, buttoning your pants, putting on a t-shirt. Getting ready in the morning became an obstacle. What I have found since then is that my job options definitely are narrow. There's a lot of jobs that I just physically cannot do. Yeah, I did not seek workers' compensation. At the time, it was literally the last thing on my mind. I was able to work with those animals, and that was my reward. That was my payment. That's just how I felt at the time. I still feel that way. I was able to live my dream, and I would have done anything, including cut off my left hand to do so. It was just something I was able to do. It was a privilege for me to be able to return to work without compensation and to continue the work that I was doing prior to that, up until that point. A lot of Americans don't have that privilege, so that's I just got lucky, man. I really did. The guy who got his hand bit off by a tiger got lucky, because I know deep down that it was for the animals that I went immediately back and kind of put everything else to the back burner, including the fact that I'm having to live life one-handed at the time. I do believe that if it had happened in any other situation, I would have definitely sought proper compensation. I would encourage, I would hope that people aren't sitting around wondering, what should my next move be? It should always be, consider the next move that's best for yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's it. That's who you got, is you. Your injuries are permanent. They're lifelong. Your job is not.
Thanks, Saf. Saf has a good point. When you're injured on the job, your injuries may be permanent, but your job may not be. And when you're depending on that job to pay your bills and rent and put food on the table, an injury could cause you to lose everything.
That's right, Luis. As much as you want to grin and bear it, you deserve to be compensated for your injuries. And that's why I recommend these 3 steps if you've been injured on the job. First, report your injury to your supervisor. Second, seek medical attention. And third, speak with a workers' compensation attorney.
We help people every day with their workers' compensation claims. And even if it's not with us, we believe you should speak to a workers' compensation lawyer so that your case can be heard and can be fought for.
Call us today, 404-888-8888.
I don't think I warned you it was American, did I? It's American, sorry. That is it. I've got some rum. We've got some rum. So Mick PR has got rum. We will organise rum for you. Karim has got rum as well. I think there's still opportunity to get rum. If you get one of the tickets, just tweet. If you've got a ticket, tweet it at us at Rise at 7, and there are still 3 rums and hats, snapback hat. So thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I am still here. I'm just in the dark in the corner, waiting for the lights to go back up. Could I get Jen and Rosa back to the stage, please? Because we are going to do some Q&A.
checking. Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. I just fell foul of my own trick and not turned the microphone on. I'm an idiot. Great talk, Stephen. Thank you very much. Very insightful, especially the graphs, even the one you forgot.
Yeah.
It was all good. Loved the videos. Lots of creativity there. And making injury law sexy. I mean, it's a talent. Yeah. But yeah, we are now at the portion where we get to do a bit of QA. All those questions you've saved up for the last 3 talks, the last 2 hours, thank you for bearing with us. You now get to ask. I don't know if anybody's actually still left watching the live stream, especially after the camera crashed and you couldn't really see anything except the slides. If you do, feel free to ask the questions in the chat and Marley's going to pass them over to me. But otherwise, for the rest of you here in the room, I'm going to run around like a madman. I'm no Dale Winton, but I'll try my best and come and stick the mic in your faces to answer any questions. So just wave your hand if you've got a question for any of our 3 fabulous speakers. Somebody please raise their
Can
hand.
I make the first request just to turn this off because it's right in my eyes?
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
Marley's on it. It might take a few seconds. It's a bit of a pain. Or if we put the other lights up a bit higher, it might cancel it out. Light.
The projector's right in my eyes.
I'm surprised I've still got a job talking
that's
like
too
this.
much. Turn
There we
back
go.
now.
It's off. Amazing. Cool. One day we'll understand how the projector works. It's you know it's magic. It's from like 100 years in the future. Question number 1. Who is the question for?
It's for Stephen. Thank you very much. So how important do you think video is in digital PR?
Journalists are significantly more likely to cover a story with video because they can put ads on it. So if you see a story of any kind of sort with the digital PR agency or team or whoever was responsible for it, and there isn't a video that kind of goes with the campaign, you'll probably still see a video in it because journalists like to stick videos in because they get to put pre-roll on there and they get paid for it. So if you have a video with your story, you are significantly more likely to get coverage than if you aren't. You're going to use a video for it. So I wouldn't say it's the be all and end all, definitely, and I would say that out of all of the campaigns we do, 20% have video and 80% don't have video, but it really does depend on the kind of creative with it. It's not always necessary, and some of the videos we've created are kind of like made up stock footage, for example, so it's not always something big and creative that we've gone and filmed. It might well actually be, you know, we've done some campaigns with just $500 worth of Shutterstock footage that we've stitched together to make it into an interesting angle for it.
Yeah, that answers my question.
Great question and a great answer. Thank you, Stephen. I'm going to spin around and hope somebody's waving at me. Someone. There we go. Amazing. Thank you very much. I'd look really awkward then otherwise. So I'm just going to squeeze past you. Thank you.
Thank you. My question's to Rosa. You mentioned reactive campaigns, but a lot of the time the trends come and go very quickly. So how much time do you usually spend to create the piece versus pitch it versus...
Yeah, no, really good question. We make sure we get buy-in from our clients initially and say, look, sometimes the media landscape is going to change really, really quickly. We're going to get an email from a journalist who's going to ask for a quote. How quick do you think you can get us a spokesperson and get them to sign it off? And it depends on the client. Sometimes they'll go straight away, there's this spokesperson, you write it, send it to us, we'll sign it off, sorted. With other clients, they need to go through so much compliance, say if it's finance, or need to go through a lot of different kind of legal factors. So what we do a lot then is have a bank of quotes that are to do with the news agenda that's coming up. So any events that are coming up, so the retail index, for example, the house prices index, we'll have a bank of quotes about that. We'll get the client to sign them off kind of in advance, and then we'll use them when we need to use them. So it's kind of working out what works for your client, whether they just want something straight away and you can sign it off, or whether they want that bank of quotes that you can adapt and amend a little bit, and then get that sent off straight away. So it's working out what works best, having a good content or a good events calendar, seeing what's coming up and what you can comment and quote on for that works really, really well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question and another fabulous answer. I'm waiting for more hands to fly up. I really am. There's one. And I know, Chris, wherever you are, you had a question as well that you sent through to me privately. I'm going to call you out.
Hiya. This is for Jen. You mentioned training as being a big sort of thing that would attract
you or to include in the job description. What kind of training would appeal to you and other agencies? What sort of training or qualifications would you be looking to see on there? What would attract you?
I'll be a typical SEO, so it depends. It does depend person to person. We all want different things. And it depends, I'm saying it again, but where you are in your career as to what you want from someone. So for me right now, I wanted to work with someone who was on a similar level to me. I wanted to bounce ideas around other people. I wanted those sort of stand-up sessions for somebody else to say, here, I do this, this is something that you might not know, let's go through it. I really appreciate that. But also the sort of off-site events, going to things like Brighton SEO, Sheffield DM, Women in Tech SEO, they're nice things to show that people have invested in things, but also things like getting people involved, getting external consultants in to talk about something really specific to them, because you might not have all that knowledge in-house. So a mixture, ideally, but just something.
Cool.
It's better than nothing.
Is it okay to ask one more?
No.
Oh. I guess this is open to everyone. In terms of sort of like professional qualifications, what sort of training or qualifications would appeal to you guys as well, like within an industry?
Do you want me to start?
Why not?
So we hire people from kind of very, very juniors interns to heads of and directors. And in all honesty, for me, when you're looking at interns, I don't necessarily look at qualifications. I look at what people kind of do in their spare time, like how they've worked hard to get where they want to be. So if there was a difference between a graduate with a master's degree or a graduate who had built their own website and had promoted that and had PR'd that, then it would kind of go to the person who had their own website. Qualifications, although good, and obviously in some careers are really important, I think personally for me it's the drive and it's the creativity that's a little bit more important. I don't know if you guys would.
I completely agree. To be honest, it's something that I don't look for, and it's not something that I even push that I do anymore. It can be useful to say, when you've got no experience, I've done this. This was a topic that I learned about, and here's what I did about it. It's something that you can talk specifically about, but when you get to this point where you're applying for jobs, I wouldn't say that they stand out. If anything, the people that have done the job for longer stand out, and I'm really envious of these people, to be honest, that started their careers much sooner than I did, because I've got quite a short career, because mine kind of started after uni, but I still don't think I'd be where I was if I hadn't done that degree in journalism, which is not really that relevant, but
I think there are two answers to this, or two answers from my perspective or our agency's perspective, because there is no industry regulatory body for SEO. So there's no one saying that's good SEO, that is, or that isn't. Whereas PR has two industry regulatory bodies in the UK, which is the CIPR and the PRCA. Our agency, we are members of the PRCA, which means everybody at the agency has that as a certification, basically, and it's kind of a badge to be able to say that that's good PR, that is. And it's not just about the quality of work, it's actually very little about the quality of work. It's how you treat journalists, how you treat the people you've got. Do you have processes in place? Do you have a policy around X, Y, and Z? And it's from a job seeker's point of view, if you're coming from an agency, or if you are individually certified, it's not that expensive, I don't think, to become certified by the PRCA or the CIPR, what that says to a potential employer is these people know how it's done, and they are prepared to be held to a code of conduct, basically. And that's quite an interesting certification. The PRCA and the CIPR both do really good training as well, and have a lot of kind of consultants, and it's, again, really cheap, free, a lot of it. Some of it's a bit more expensive, a couple of £100, but some of it is free, and there are a lot of kind of events and stuff as well. So the PR industry, 45, 50, 60, 100 years old. The SEO industry, not quite that old, so maybe one day we will have a regulatory body. That would be good, actually. I'd like a regulatory body.
Set it up.
I think we need it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys.
Hi, my question actually really nicely ties in with that, because I was going to ask about, I guess, like, ethically, about, like, especially it's more for the PR guys. Where would you draw the line of something that you think, shit, that's going to get us so much attention, it's going to drive so much traffic, but maybe it's a little close to the bone? you know, like with I guess more risky subjects or topics that may be a bit, you know, like news can be quite negative, but also very traffic driving. You know, like I get like maybe it's to do with the regulatory thing, but how much do you have to like act in the best interest of the client and say, well, actually that would be a really good result for them, but maybe for us that wouldn't be something we were maybe so proud of. Where would you draw the line with that?
So in terms of campaigns that you run for clients, it's understanding what the client wants from their campaign and what they're looking for. Some clients you have, all they want is links. They just want links to build up their SEO. And they are a little bit more brave when it comes to being a little bit controversial. We'd never do anything offensive, and we'd never do anything that would upset people or hurt people. That's like, you know, that's the line. You don't do that. That's just not what you do in PR. You know, the phrase, no PR is bad, PR is not true. Like, just isn't. But you do have some clients who are up for being brave, being pushing those boundaries a little bit. Other clients, you've really got to balance their brand with what you do in digital PR. Obviously, we always get client buy-in and we put ideas in front of clients and they always have sign-off. But it's just understanding what your relationship is with that client and what they want and where they want to be seen. You know, sometimes we have blacklists where clients, they don't want their brand to be on, and we have to avoid that, and there are certain campaigns that we'll avoid for that. But it's understanding what the client wants, if you're a business owner, what you want, which kind of reflects on how far you'll push that. So if you...
I would say, I would agree that it depends. And I would say there's the agency owner answer to this, which is we have to consider what our people are comfortable with as first and foremost, right? So we work with a lot of fast fashion brands, for example. That's a big sector for us. And Klarna would be another example of a client that we have, and we work with them because for us they're culturally relevant. They are everywhere. That's the world that we live in, and we're comfortable with that. Whereas gambling, for example, we're moving away from gambling. We've done it in the past, definitely, but now our people are saying, do you know what? I never really liked working on that. And we go, we don't really need to. The work is there to do other things. So we have to take our people's steer first about what we will and won't do. And the second thing on the client side, that's absolutely, I 100% agree, right? What is a client comfortable? We have a client who has a calculation of what's the ROI of this campaign going to be, how much will it cost us if we get sued? I think it's worth it. And they'll go for that. They'll go for that frequently. And we have clients who don't really want to do that. I think by the nature of the kind of things that we do, like putting dildos in Easter eggs as a massive adult Kinder Surprise, and being really overt about that's what we do, we attract clients who want to do stuff like that. And I don't think HSBC ever going to get in touch with us. So again, you've got to make your position, you've got to decide your position and stick to it. And I think that position has to be led first and foremost by the people you've got, and then secondly by what clients are comfortable with on the scale of 1 to 10.
Great answers. Thank you very much. We've got time for one last question. All right, 2, fine. But there's no more after this. That's very kind of you.
So asking this question as someone who's not good at marketing and interested in promoting a digital product, I understood the Venn diagram where there's digital PR in the middle. I'm wondering whether you think digital PR requires a solid foundation of SEO to be effective, or whether you think you can start off doing stuff like that.
So there's a lot of typically in a consulting engagement, I would ask a lot of questions before I give an answer to this. If you are starting a brand new product from scratch and you've not done anything before, or it's not a well-known product, neither digital PR nor SEO are the thing that I would be doing. I would be doing either paid social ads, definitely, or I would be doing content. I would be creating content on the website that answers questions about the product I've got. That is the SEO bit that I would be focused on. I guess it kind of falls into that SEO category. Digital PR is, like you said, somewhat less ROI-y when you don't have a solid foundation of content to get ranking, to send people to be able to drive traffic to, basically. So I think everything starts with content, and if I've got a product to promote and it doesn't exist in a big way on the internet just yet, I would start with the the ecosystem of content around that answers all the use cases. Why would you buy this thing? Who is it for? How does it work? How do you return it? And all that kind of thing. And what's the need? What's the need that we solve? What's the product market fit?
Thanks.
But it depends. is the actual answer.
It always depends. Final question of the night, Chris.
This is a question for all three of you. If you were going into an interview and you were the potential employee, what questions or question would you ask the potential employer?
Well, I've just showed you that, Chris. That's my answer.
It's a really good question. I think, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. It depends on the employer. I said it depends again. Something along the lines of any kind of potential 5-year plan, looking at kind of where the future of the employer, what they're looking to do, how they're looking to grow, and how you'd be a part of that, which is a bit more than one question, but that's kind of what I'd be looking for.
My favourite question that I've asked in every interview that I've ever done is, what part of this job do you think I will find hardest? And I like asking that question because it puts an employer on the spot to be able to be forced to say, here are the shit bits. Here are the bits that we're not good at. This is the struggle you're going to have. This is what the last employee found difficult. This is the big job, really, the thing that we need you to do. And I don't think any employer says, do you know what, you absolutely breeze it. We're like, oh, fantastic, I'll have more money, please. That would be great. So I always ask that question. I don't ask it anymore. I own my company. But I used to ask that question every single time.
All answers done. Amazing. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your questions. Thank you to our speakers. Cool. It is 3 minutes to 8, so I'm going to run through this bit really, really fast so we can get to all the fun stuff. I have noticed, actually, that we've got a whiteboard here, and it looks like it's supposed to be part of the event. I bet you're all like, oh, what's going to happen with the whiteboard? It's going to be a really exciting game. It's nothing. I've no idea why it's there at all. Weird. I also noticed, sorry, I'm just chatting absolute shit now. I was eyeing up Marley's playlist on Spotify while I was sitting there. And there's a Sheffield DM playlist, but I did also notice, and it's called 2000s Babes, Where You At? And it absolutely killed me. Stephen, if you heard me chuckling, sorry, it wasn't at you, it was at that. But I really want to hear it now, and I think I'm going to get her to play it after we're finished here. Sorry, I'm Spotify shaming now. That's the thing, right? I'm going to run through the stuff that I have to say. I did make notes this time because it means you don't just have to listen to me chat absolute rubbish. First of all, huge thank you to our 3 speakers tonight. Jen, Rosa, Stephen. Without our fabulous speakers, it'd just be me, and you'd all leave in about 5 minutes, wouldn't you? Also, a huge thank you to our sponsors, as usual, Evoluted, the company I work for, the company Jen works for. There we go. Could have been louder, more of you. Woo! There we go. Evoluted, we are a full-service digital agency here in Sheffield. You'll see our lovely leaflets in your goodie bags if you go for a nosy. There are 2 sides to it. We haven't pimped ourselves for 3 years, really. We've been doing this, we've been sponsoring it, we've been paying the bills, giving the free drinks out, putting it on, doing all the work that comes with it. And it's a lot of work, even if it doesn't feel like we're really prepared. But tonight we've decided, hey, it's been 3 years, why not just do a little shout out? So you'll see there's 2 sides to that leaflet. Number 1, we are hiring. We're hiring for a few roles. Number 1, I am looking for a head of PPC to join me, to join Dec, and to join Laura, who's hiding at the back over there. To lead the Evoluted marketing team to even greater heights. So if you are an existing head of PPC or you're a senior PPC manager that's looking to step up, please do come and have a chat with me. I promise I'm not like this all the time. It does get better. And on the flip side, if you turn it around, sorry, I should actually say what's on there. We are paying £1,000 to anybody that refers us someone that we do end up hiring. So we're looking for that role. We're looking for content specialists. We're looking for project managers. We're looking for developers of all sorts. We're looking for, I'm getting to the SEO bit. We're looking for SEOs as well. Give me a second. So if you fancy a new job or a banging agency, come and have a chat. And Ash will buy you a curry at the end of the night too. On the flip side, we are looking, as every agency is, to bring more clients on. We are offering an incredible referral scheme, so if you have someone that is looking for web design, web development, UX audits, SEO, PPC, content, digital PR, the whole shebang, put them in touch with us. We're giving 10% referral fee for the first year of that contract with us, so put them in touch. It's a little bit in your pocket as well. That's the end of the sales pitch. It's not, there's another one coming, but it's for a different company. I'm allowed to do this because I'm the one on stage and nobody else is, but I also run a company called afterwork.gg. For anybody out there who is a gamer, I hope somebody is, because otherwise this is just going to fall flat and it's going to be a waste of time. I run a community for professionals who play, so gamers who are busy, you've got shit going on, you've got children at home, you've got a family, you've got work going on, but you want somewhere where you can come, you can chill with some guys, you can play some games, shoot some people, play some Stardew Valley, whatever it is you're into. We have a Discord community that's growing. It's a really great place to be. We've run some amazing charity tournaments this year already as well. So if you're into that kind of thing, come and check us out. It is literally afterwork.gg. The name's great. I'm just going to say it. So if you're into games, check us out. Great sales pitch. For me, I've been your host, Giorgio Cassella. You'll probably never want to see me again, but I'm the marketing director at Evoluted. If you do want to keep in touch with me for some weird reason, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn if you can spell it. So good luck with that one. I'm not going to spell it out for you now. And yeah, really, it's just been an amazing 3 years of Sheffield DM. From the day we first started, we had Tom, there you are, Compare before me, far better, obviously, far better looking as well. Leading us for 2 years down at the Sheffield Tap in that pokey little back room, to here today with all of you fabulous people, incredible speakers, cake, because I love cake, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to say it plenty more times tonight. It's just been incredible. It's a huge emotional journey for me. It's a huge emotional journey for the team. Me and Ash had a beer, about 4 years ago, where we first had this idea, and it took a whole year for us to actually get something off the ground. Awful, I know. But thank you all so much. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. You are amazing people. I said to Jen earlier how she rocked it just standing still on the stage, and here's me just doing this. I can't stand still, it's the nerves. Yeah, sorry, I am incredibly proud of our little event. The caliber of speakers we've had is incredible. There's going to be so many more to come. Our next one is going to be in February, taking a little bit of break from the 2 monthly thing, because there's no way we're going to persuade you all to come and join us over Christmas. You'll be way too busy. But we are going to be back in February, pending date the 17th. So as long as the showroom actually give us that date, we'll be back here. We'll be doing more awesome stuff, and we'll have some great speakers then too. So please do check in. The event page is live, so you can go to sheffield-dm.eventbrite.com and reserve your tickets now, because I know you all want to be back here in February. We're almost at the end. There's like 3 points left, and it's all the good stuff. The last thing I'd like to do is you all to give a huge round of applause to the organising team behind this. I know I take the stage, but it's not about me at all. We've got an incredible team at Evoluted who have made this happen. Lots of them are hiding at the back in the dark, but we've got Marley at the front here. We've got Will running around taking photos. We've got Dex sitting in the front here as well, keeping quiet and out of the way. But all these guys at the back, feel free to turn around and put the pressure on them and, do the whole... Whoa. But please give them a huge round of applause. They're amazing. And because we're just past 8 o'clock, we'll get to the good bit. We have got still Mario Kart outside. There are lap times to smash. There are prizes to be won. There's giant Jenga to tumble down. You're not allowed to sue us if it lands on you, so just take a step back. I can give you the details for the showroom if you do need to sue anyone. They're not here, it's fine, they don't know. There's Jenga, there's going to be all sorts of cool stuff. There's plenty of cake left still. Please do come and have a chat with all of us as well. We'd love to talk to you all. We'd love to meet you, find out how you found out about Sheffield DM, why you're here. We'd love to try and persuade you to come and do a talk here as well. Even if you feel a bit nervous, come and give it a go. We'd love to host you, so come and say hi to one of us with these absolutely beautiful lanyards on. Will did the design for those. He's a legend. We have got an hour here till 9, so yeah, come and have a chat, do some social. Final thing, if you all reach down into your lovely orange on-brand bags, there are some party poppers in there. Don't pull them yet, and if anybody doesn't have one, I've done a really bad job stuffing bags, so just raise your hand and someone will run round and give you a spare one. I'm going to bring Will up onto the stage to take some photos. I'm going to bring Amber up, who's going to do some video, and I'm going to force you all to sing Happy Birthday, or you're going to get no cake. And I think we're just going to do all together. Get your party poppers ready and give me a big Happy birthday, Sheffield DM. Pop those party poppers. Don't aim them at anyone, otherwise I'll come and slap you. Let's get it up in the air, and I'm going to have a big clean-up job to do later. On 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday, Sheffield DM! And I'm hoping we caught that, otherwise, there we go. Thank you all so much for coming. Who was late? Oh. Right. Piss off and get some beer and some cake, and I'll see you all in February. Have a lovely Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.